Our friend Andrew Comrie Picard designed the course for it, and they did a bitchin' job. The course looked fun. Was it as fun to drive this course as it looked?
It was unbelievable. So there was a lot of annoying parts that people don't realize at home, and myself included, and that's like
what?
The lights in your eyes and the cameras blocking every visible glass surface in the car, and then them sending it at night with no practice, first try. So everything you saw was first try.
That's amazing. That's fucking good driving. And not just from you, from a bunch of people who are really, really good at driving.
Absolutely.
But did they actually have light bars in the car to light your face while you're driving?
Lots of them.
Dude, that's
you can see it.
worst. Oh, it's a nightmare. It's like just the discrepancy in that to try and drive. I mean, and then they have water.
Yeah. No, I already can't see out of my car, and it's what I mean, like much worse with light. And it at one point too, like this light bar is literally shining on my face, and I'm like, I can't see shit, y'all. My windshield's all steamed up. So I reached up there to turn it down, and the producer immediately comes over and he's like, "Don't touch this shit. This is my," he like turns it way back up, and I'm like, "Bro, I can't see." And he's like, "I don't care. I can't see your face." And
Crash with honor.
Yeah, I'm like, "What if I crash?" And he goes, "That'll make great TV." And I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah, dude.
This is real.
Bro, you're a cog in the fucking wheel,
I see
man.
this now. Damn, I'm not talent. I'm just cannon fodder.
I mean, that is incredibly truthful.
Yeah.
It is. I've known a lot of TV producers, and crash with honor.
Yep.
You know what it is that. Like, you signed up to fuck your car up hard for the benefit of those people at home.
Of everyone else, not you. Yeah.
You can just see, like, when they cut to your guys' in-car shots, like, you're lit up.
Yeah.
It is nighttime, and it's not nighttime in the car.
No,
you can read.
And as like pretty as the track looks, the actual surface was not lit at all. Like, all the obstacles were lit and stuff, but we couldn't see the ground almost at all. And that coupled with the lights and stuff. At one point, they put a camera on my A-pillar bar, and it was blocking the rearview mirror. And I'm like, "You guys want me to do a reverse 180? I need to be behind me."
I have no mirrors at all.
Right. And they were just like, "Well, you're like a pro driver, right?" I'm like, "Not really." And they're like, "Well, this is the shot we want." I'm just like,
also,
even if you are, like,
right?
most of the people on this show are definitely not pro drivers. They're good amateurs.
Sure, that was the point too. They actually said they didn't want any pros.
They kind of loopholed that a little bit, where they got pros from other countries that people just sort of haven't heard of.
The Americans get
Four
slaughtered.
of them are like instructors. It's like, oh wait, you're not a pro in America, but you're Brazil's drift champion.
Right.
Yeah, and then the guy that won was
Brazilian.
Was he Brazilian? Oh, those two guys. The guy in the Mustang, which was a sick car.
Bro, that kid
was
Brazilian.
An animal. And then the kid was 21. He was also Brazilian. Yeah,
They were both
five
Mustangs. Yeah.
No, that kid, Diego.
Diego.
What's his last name? Higa. Yeah, he was an animal. He was a laser focused machine.
He's a robot.
Robot.
We called him the Terminator on set because he didn't have a single facial expression, but he was out there to just like win.
He was the fucking Senna incarnate, in drifting, where he's like, "My God will take me through this course."
Right.
Fuck, just like, oh shit, maybe God really does look after this motherfucker, huh? And he's got that father that like when they get home, if he doesn't go well, like, oh Jesus.
I think that was part of the motivation for him, for sure.
Just please don't beat the shit out of me.
Right.
I'll hit every target, I promise.
I must win.
It was a great cast of characters on that show. They did I think a pretty fun job casting fun people, and in a real international. Some of the women drivers were great.
They were all phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they did. That was probably one of the better parts of the show. Is the casting was just so good.
The variety of people and cars was really, really cool.
Yeah. A few too many Mustangs for me, but
right.
But at least one of them was like a '60s Mustang that had almost like pre-runner suspension set up.
Right.
It was super squatted back. It was rad.
I think it was gangster. That was the Hoonicorn, or the what's it called?
It was basically like the Hoonicorn.
Yeah, basically.
Sort of,
they get a rat rod Hoonicorn thing.
Cool.
Yeah. And that chick Sarah in basically a stock fucking V6 Mustang
V6.
mobbing.
Yep.
That's awesome. You can go a long way without much hardware.
Yeah, same with Brittany, a stock 350Z. And she made it all the way to the top 10. That's impressive. Seriously.
And stock 350Zs suck.
Totally, they're terrible. I mean,
I'd take a V6 Mustang over a 350Z for drifting.
Really?
Stock for stock?
Well, the only 350Z I've slid is Drift 101s.
That thing has been set up.
That's got like coilovers and a supercharger.
Yeah, it's been
but
set
aren't
up.
350Zs? It seems like they're becoming the new 240 because 240s got so expensive.
And 240s suck. They're crappy.
Really?
They're so crappy. Like, they're only good after you dump enough money into them to buy a 350Z.
Wow. I always felt, I guess the ones I've driven, even though they just had basic coils, they always felt incredibly natural while sliding. Like the chassis, and people still compete like in FD and whatever in Pro 2 with a chassis that's 20 years old or 30 years old. So it seems to speak to that car's like natural ability, but is that just a setup thing? Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because
well, in the beginning, you know, it was one of the few lightweight, inexpensive, rear-wheel drive, manual, you know, no driver aids cars you could buy. And so that made it already, you know, a huge leg up. And then it's very well balanced, and stock, they have a pretty decent amount of steering angle. But today, you know, there are much better modern chassis that have much better everything.
Okay.
But because there's been so much development over the years in the aftermarket for the S chassis, it still is a very dominant chassis to drive, and they're very natural and very easy to drive. So a lot of times, even if the car is not quite as good, if it's easier to drive, you can be more competitive.
Gotcha.
That's a good point. Yeah. And like all problems have been solved. Like there's nothing you could even dream of doing with one of those that somebody somewhere hasn't figured out and made a procedure for.
Except maybe take it through a shipping container jump.
That's a good point.
Hyperdrive.
that was
totally good
gnarly,
point.
dude.
Yeah, and you know, so that the leveler thing. So okay, for people who've never seen Hyperdrive, it was a cool show.
Go watch it, and then watch all the way to the end. I have to always say that.
Yeah.
So many people stop after like Ep 6, and I'm like, what the hell? You missed the best part.
No, it gets gnarly.
It gets insane.
So, you know, TV is such an interesting thing because they always find the randomizer.
Yep.
So if they have a competition show about driving, from a TV producer's perspective, you don't make a show where just the best driver is going to win. That's not how this shit works. You need a fucking random equalizer because the point is to keep the competition as tight and tense as possible. So they built this funky ass bridge.
The leveler.
The leveler is an amazing thing to see.
It is.
And you had to drive up on it and make it level, and it was weighted unevenly with water that would slosh around. So what was the strategy for making this thing work?
It was impossible. That was the worst.
Being good at driving doesn't actually have anything to do with it.
And that was the most frustrating thing for me, because I'm like, I can fucking drive, but I can't balance this stupid ass leveler. Like, what is the deal?
Well, that's what the thing. They throw in a thing where it's impossible that anyone's ever even practiced it. And so it's also like, how fast can you get your car from first to reverse and first to reverse and first to reverse? And like, you have a spotter and like communication and like people that were amazing at driving sometimes just couldn't fucking figure it out.
Exactly. So a couple things about it. One, the spotter's feed that he was seeing had like a 1 second delay. So by the time he's telling me to stop or go forward, the leveler's already moved. Like, I'm already sure.
That's a huge problem.
Huge problem, right?
Huge problem.
I'm sure it's completely accidental too.
Yeah. And then, right. And then another thing is that depending on when you went in the night, like I often went earlier in the day, and then some of the other teams, I won't name who, but you can probably figure it out. They had to go to the bathroom as soon as I was on the leveler, and they would go watch me do it and be like, oh, he stopped there. That's where you stop. And so they would know right away where to tell them, tell the drivers to stop. So there was a little bit of gaming involved, unfortunately. And then another thing is that they moved the weight every night. So you never could like practice it. Even if you got it, the next night the ballast was changed. So it was so difficult to get that thing. And I'm like, this is not a driving skill.
It's not. There's nothing to do with it.
There's nothing to do with it. But the women were unbelievably good at that. I think they have like a better equilibrium or something.
Oh, maybe.
Because they all crushed it. And all the guys were just like, where's reverse? Like,
I actually found a couple of people who told their spotters to just shut the fuck up and let them do it actually were able to do it better than having someone yapping in their ear the whole time.
Totally.
Well, it makes sense if there's a delay that if you're just doing if the spotter isn't helping, it's just going to like add sensory input that's going to confuse you. You're like, I'll just do it by feel.
That creates the panic situation like Uncut Gems, where you get the overload, information overload, and
like
shut
parallel
down
parking
for panic.
with 2 phone calls.
Yeah.
And you couldn't see anything either. Remember, it's pitch black, and you drive up this 6-story leveler. You're looking into a black sky with no frame of reference. You don't even know when it's like starting to come down. It was so difficult, so hard. And the guys with like the dog box or sequentials, they were boned.
That's the guys I was thinking about. I was like, oh my god, straight cut gears. These dudes are crunching. to go. It's like you're plowing snow. First reverse, first reverse, first reverse. Just crazy.
And oftentimes we came from the water feature onto the leveler, so like tires are wet. You're on this metal corrugated thing. I was just doing burnouts on it, trying to move. Like,
I mean, you could see tire tracks on the thing in this photo.
The 10 coolest stunts. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed. I thought the combination of the real driving, really showing off the real driving and getting great angle.